use of communications, please silence for the duration of the meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order of the special meeting of the Terrebonne Parish Council. And Ms. Domingue, could you lead us in an invocation?
Lord, I want us to take a moment of silence to think about the families in Texas and the families all across the United States who were affected by what happened yesterday in such an unthinkable tragedy. And please just pray for them and bless the United States and help us move forward from this, Lord. And we ask that you just help us and you lay your hands on everyone that was affected by this tragedy. Amen.
Amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Hampton, roll call.
Mr. Amadei?
Here.
Mrs. Domingue?
Here.
Mr. Darren Guidry?
Here.
Mr. Babin?
Here.
Mr. Dirk Guidry? Here. Mr. Trosclair? Here. Mr. Navy? Here. Mr. Harding? Here. Mr. Michel? Here. Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum present.
Item 1, public hearing to discuss the increase of millage rates for the tax year 2022 with no roll forward provisions. They include drainage bonds, 0.58 mils, road and bridge bond, 0.58 mils, sewerage tax bonds, 0.59 mils, general alimony HOMA, 3.03 mils, city ad valorem tax, 6.2 mils, City of Houma Fire, 5.08 mils, City of Houma Police, 5.08 mils, Drainage Tax Maintenance, 7.15 mils, Sanitation District Maintenance, 9.97 mils, Terrebonne Arc Maintenance, 5.21 mils, Council on Aging, 7.5 mils, Mental Health Center, 0.42 mils, Health Unit, 0.66 mils, Recreation Tax, 2.21 mils, Road District Number 6, 0.82 mils, Road Lighting District Number 1, 3.5 mils, Road Lighting District Number 2, 1.75 mils, Road Lighting District Number 3, 2.25 mils, Road Lighting District Number 4, 2.5 mils, Road Lighting District Number 5, 2.5 mils, Road Lighting District Number 6, 3.5 mils, Road Lighting District Number 7, 4.0 mils, Road Lighting District Number 8, 2.25 mils, Road Lighting District Number 9, 3.0 mils, and Road Lighting District Number 10, 4.75 mils. Public once, public twice, third time public. Motion to close public, Mr. Gerald Michel, seconded Mr. Carl Harding. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next is public hearing to discuss the increase of millage rates for the 2022 for the parish property taxes subject to roll forward provisions. Parish tax alimony inside, 1.49 mils. Parish tax alimony inside adjusted 1.49 mils. 2022 levy, 1.51 mils. Public once. Public twice. Third time public. Motion to close, Mr. Gerald Michel. Seconded, Mr. Dirk Guidry. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We did that. Motion to adjourn by Mr. Danny Babin.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Jessica Domingue. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned for the special meeting. The regular meeting will begin at 6:15. We will take a short 10-minute recess. Notice to the public, if you wish to address the council, please complete the public wishing to address the council form located at the end of the counter and give it to the council clerk prior to the beginning of the meeting. All public comments must be addressed to the council as a whole. Addressing individual council members or staff is not allowed. Speakers should be courteous in their choice of words or actions, and comments shall be limited to the issues and cannot involve individuals or staff-related matters. All cell phones, pagers, and electronic devices used for communications should be silenced for the duration of the meeting. Got 15 seconds, close enough. All right. I'll call the meeting of the Terrebonne Parish Council to order at 6:15. And Mr. Navy, could you lead us in a prayer followed by the pledge?
Actually, I would like to just mimic what Ms. Thorman was just saying. I would ask for a moment of silence. My heart definitely weighs heavy this evening, just because I work at a school and I see a lot of kids out here. I just pray that our Heavenly Father eradicate the evilness and the racism equity that exists in our community. I just ask for another moment of silence for these kids. Thank you.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Hampton, roll call.
Mr. Amade? Mrs. Domingue?
Here.
Mr. Darren Guidry?
Here.
Mr. Babin? Mr. Dirk Guidry? Mr. Trosclair? Mr. Navy? Mr. Harding? Mr. Michel? Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum present.
Thank you very much. First item, approved minutes of the regular council session held on April 27th, 2022. Move Mr. Dirk Guidry, seconded by Mr. Steve Trosclair. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Distribute minutes of the regular council session held on May 11th, 2022, which we've done. Approve accounts payable bill list for May 16th, 2022 and May 23rd, 2022. Move Mr. Carl Harding. Seconded Mr. Steve Trosclair. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Under general business, a public meeting and ordinance to adopt the millage rates for the tax year 2022. Hold on a second. Let me go ahead, Mr. Michel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion that we deviate to item F for the accommodation for the Vanderbilt Catholic High School students so they can go home and work on their exams because they still have their last day of exams tomorrow.
We have a motion to deviate, Mr. Gerald Michel, seconded by Mr. John Navy. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are taking up item F, commendation, the Vanderbilt Catholic High School Indoor Percussion Band for winning the 2022 Louisiana-Mississippi Color Guard Percussion Circuit Championship and for competing in international and world competitions. Mr. Gerald Michel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to ask for Mr. Jacob Jennings to come up and give out the certificates. And after you receive your certificate, you can remain standing across the front here, and we'll get a picture after we're finished. And before we do that, I'd like to read what each certificate says. It's a certificate of recognition by the Terrebonne Parish, and it says the Terrebonne Parish President and the Parish Council do hereby recognize and commend, and each individual person's name is listed, for competing in the 2022 Winter Guard International Competitions, for winning the 2022 Louisiana-Mississippi Color Guard Percussion Circuit Championship on April the 2nd, 2022, and for placing 11th in the WGI PSA World Championships. Your efforts, persistence, and successes are an inspiration to Terrebonne Parish and an example of what can be achieved through courage, dedication, and hard work. And it's signed by the Parish President, Gordon Dove, and by the Council Chairman, Darren Guidry, on behalf of the entire Terrebonne Parish Council. I'll call your names.
Well, sorry, hold on, Mr. Michel. Go ahead. Sorry, I accidentally cut off your mic. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Abby Rodrigue. Stella Urso. Sarah Grace Couvillon. And look, y'all can come right here in front of us here. Kira Richards. Catherine Matachek. Corman Richards. Emma Dupre. Denise Bragoli. Ali Boudreau. Azriel Melanson. Emily Granger. Paul Kramer. John Michel. Evan Adams. Ross Aboud. Riley Leday. Cooper Stroud. Jacob Leonard. William Sapola. Austin Cunningham. Kylie Dupre. Brooke Marceau. Lauren Lerat. Chandler Parfait. Emma Gottschalk. Lucy Gottschalk. Reese Fungi. Jackson Morrow. Morgan Clayton. Ali Pontief. Ashley Blue. Claire Leverage. Cami DeRoche. And Jacob Clayton. Ladies and gentlemen, the 2022 Winter Guard Indoor Percussion from Vanderbilt Catholic High School. We can take, well, let's get some pictures taken. We can maybe just all stand up behind them. And we can take pictures, and then I'll make a couple of other comments. It's like my wife with her glasses. Can't go far enough back.
Smile, please.
Pretend y'all glad to be here.
Thank y'all very much.
Okay, y'all can have a seat for another moment, please. And I had the privilege of going to Ohio and seeing what their months of work culminated to. And it was so exciting, and it was so exciting for them. But the interesting thing is that on our very first meeting many months ago, Mr. Jacob Jennings says, we're going to be in the finals in the Nationals. And he knew it from day one. And it's that dedication that got them to believe in it and that got them there. And I can't say enough about Mr. Jacob. He's done a great job for this group of students. And obviously the student dedication, it's as much dedication as happens in any sport. I mean, they're there 3 days a week plus Saturdays, many hours a day for several months. And it was just incredible to watch them grow to that point. And we can't go without recognizing those parents who were supportive and helpful to make sure that they had everything they needed to get them to that point. Mr. Jacob, did you want to say anything?
Thank you so much to the council for recognizing the accomplishments of these students. We all know that we all went through what we went through as a community over the past year, going to another parish to share a school and do things of that nature, and to be where we are today, to have a space back in Terrebonne Parish, to call our home, to have these rehearsals, to go out and represent this parish and this community the way that we did on a national and international way was truly inspiring to us. So thank you again for recognizing the students' accomplishments and for your time here tonight. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
And he reminds me of something else that was very important. They took this trip to Ohio, and they decided that they were going to do a service project. And so they did a service project. They got a bunch of care packages together to help with the homeless people who were in the area around Dayton, Ohio. And you know, despite the fact, as Jacob was saying, everything that we went through ourselves, they still put somebody else ahead of them. And one other thing that I have to mention, and Mr. Brad Adams is not with us this evening, but Mr. Adams has played a tremendous part in this activity and in Vanderbilt Band for 26 years. And that's going to change next year, but somebody's going to be fortunate and is, you know, is going to have the advantage that we used to have, and I'm sure we're going to grow into something positive as well. So you know, let's hear it from Mr. Adams. And y'all do a great job on y'all exams.
Okay, we have some lights. Mr. Trosclair.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, as most of my colleagues here and most people know, I'm all about recognizing our youth and our young adults, students, you know, coming into that work and dedicate their energies in Terrebonne Parish and excel. And so from me, congratulations to you guys. But also, I want to add something. Mr. Paul Kramer, would you stand, please? Okay, Paul Kramer, I think he plays the bass clarinet in the percussionist group, but he is also an accomplished piano player. And he won the LFMF Piano Solo Most Difficult Division Champion 11 years running. Wow. So, you know, I want to acknowledge Mr. Kramer. You know, that's the type of people that are going to be sitting up here one day. You know, these are the guys that are going to be sitting up here one day running this parish because, you know, they put a lot of effort in everything they do. They give it their all, and they really, you know, achieve. And, you know, I definitely like to acknowledge as often as we can here and anywhere we can do it, the high achievers in our parish, and definitely you guys are high achievers. So congratulations again, and y'all keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Michel?
Yeah, Mr. Kramer, stand up again. And the gentleman to your left can also stand up. These two played the synthesizer for the show, and I have him stand up because that's my son John, and Paul was very instrumental in mentoring him, and together it was just fun to watch them work together. And Paul, I thank you for that, and John and everyone, I'm so proud of you all.
Mr. Navy.
And I definitely want to commend you all too. Actually, I played in a band since my 5th grade and also some college. So I know it's hard work. Definitely it's hard work. You know, honor bands and solo ensembles during my time. But I know it's a very good commitment for you all, and the idea of academic excellence goes with that. And I know you all the band students for some reason are mostly honor students. I don't know why that's so, but they're mostly honor students, and that just tells me how much academic excellence means to you all. So congratulations, and God bless you all for that.
Thank you, Mr. Navy. And, you know, my granddaughter was in indoor percussion a few years ago, and I know how much work it is and how much effort is put into it by all the schools. And for you guys to come out ahead, you know, I knew things were headed in the right direction, and it just took time, and it took a group of talented people. But knowing the work involved, I would like to ask the parents and the support group of this band to stand up. I know you don't want to. Stand up. I don't know if people are aware, but these guys are almost 50% of an indoor percussion group because they literally have to set up the entire stage with all the props, with everything in a matter of seconds. And at the end, it has to all be torn down in a matter of seconds and removed off the, so they do a great job, and we commend you guys too. You did a great job, all of you all. Thank you. Mr. Michel.
Yeah, and one last comment, if y'all didn't hear him clearly, he said his grandchild was in there years ago. He's old. Okay. But what I really
Mr.
did
Gerald,
want to...
I resemble that remark. Yeah.
What I really wanted to remind y'all is that we're finished with this, and y'all may leave if you like, so y'all can get home and study. You do not have to stay for more items on the agenda. Thank y'all for coming.
We'll give you a little time to quickly mosey out. All right, let's move along. Motion to go back into regular order, Mr. Carl Harding, seconded by Mr. Danny Babin. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item 1A, public meeting. An ordinance to adopt the millage rate for tax year 2022 with no roll-forward provisions. They include drainage bonds, .58 mils, road and bridge bonds, .58 mils, sewer tax bonds, .59 mils, general alimony Homa, 3.03 mils, city ad valorem tax, 6.2 mils, City of Homa Fire, 5.08 mils, City of Homa Police, 5.08 mils, drainage tax maintenance, 7.15 mils, sanitation district maintenance, 9.97 mils, Terrebonne Art maintenance, 5.21 mils, council on aging, 7.5 mils, mental health center, 0.42 mils, health unit, 0.66 mils, recreation tax, 2.21 mils, road district 6, 0.82 mils, road lighting district 1, 3.5 mils, road lighting district 2, 1.75 mils, road lighting district 3, 2.25 mils, road lighting district 4, 2.5 mils, road lighting district 5, 2.5 mils, road lighting district 6, 3.5 mils, road lighting district 7, 4.0 mils, road lighting district 8, 2.25 mils, road lighting district 9, 3.0 mils, and road lighting district 10, 4.7 mils. Do we have a motion to adopt? Motion to adopt by Mr. John Navy, seconded by Mr. Gerald Michel. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item B, an ordinance to adopt the 2022 adjusted millage rates for the parish property taxes subject to roll-forward provisions. They include parish tax alimony inside adjusted rate, 1.49 mils. Motion to adopt, Mr. Steve Trosclair.
Second.
Second, Ms. Jessica Domingue. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ordinance is passed. Item C is an ordinance to adopt the 2022 adjusted millage rates for the parish property taxes subject to roll-forward provisions. Parish tax alimony inside 2022 levy, 1.51 mils. Motion to adopt, Mr. Gerald Michel, seconded Mr. Carl Harding. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item D, presentation by parish administration relative to capital projects, including drainage, utility, road, and quality of life projects, as well as other matters related to the operation and maintenance of parish government. Mr. Mike Toops.
Thank you, Council Chairman. This week, we'd like to highlight the Elliott Jones Pump Station project. Here we go. The first slide you've seen before because this pump station is tied in with our Hanson Canal pump station, which we just completed. But the Elliott Jones is located about 4.5 miles west-northwest of the Hanson Canal pump station. And it drains the area you see on the screen. And from the north, it goes as high as LA1 in Lafourche Parish. It pumps out parts of Assumption Parish. The red section is Terrebonne Parish, and it's bordered on the east side by Highway 311, the west side by Highway 182, and on the south side by Savannah Road. This is a picture of the completed Hanson Canal pump station, and what you see to the left are the trash screens. The four structures in the middle are the 900 horsepower motors, and then on the right side are the discharge pipes. And I'll compare that to as you can see, the Elliott Jones is pretty much the same. These are the trash screens, and the motors are identical. They're 900 horsepower, and the pumps are 60-inch axial flow pumps. This is the discharge side, and you can see everything is lined with rocks to prevent erosion. This is a picture showing, at the bottom, it's LA 182. The conveyance channel is approximately 2,100 feet long, leading to the pump station. The pump station at the present is approximately a 25% complete. We estimate completion of it around December of this year, providing that we, God forbid, have no major hurricanes or.
Don't say it.
Yes, I don't want to jinx us. But the access road is, right now, is approximately 60% complete. The price on this project is right around $14 million. The capacity is right at 1,000 cubic feet per second. That equates to 400,000 gallons per minute, or 1 million gallons every 2 minutes and 15 seconds with all four pumps running. This is a photo of the actual construction. Those are the pre-stressed concrete piles that hold the support for the deck of the pumps, and also the discharge pipes. And then also we have, we have 24 and 30-inch steel pipes for the flood wall bracing. And the crane with the temporary bridge is part of the construction project. That red section will be removed when the pump station is completed. And that's about concludes the presentation.
We have a light mic.
Yes, sir. I'll
Mr.
answer any
Babin?
questions.
Yeah, Mike, the Hanson Canal, I know the energy is provided by Entergy, okay? I know it's a sleeker area. And we had to run off of generators for a good while because there was a hiccup, so to speak, getting the electricity there. Who is gonna furnish the power to this one, and is that gonna be done on time or completion of the pump station?
Yeah, this one's energy also, and we also have two backup 1,750 kW generators that are part of the project.
Right, I mean, it's almost identical, it's a mirror image of the Hanson Canal. I just wanna make sure that we don't have to run off those generators and that the power will be there.
That is correct.
We learned from the last one, I'm sure, so, thank you very much.
And one thing I want to have to point out to people, because, you know, I did speak to Joey Sehan, who kind of oversees the operations of these. I called him the other day just because I wanted to get assurances, and I knew the answer to the question, but there are people who believe that the Hanson Canal pumps are not running. And Mr. Joey said no, The Hanson Canal pumps right now are manually on all the time. The only time those are not on right now is when they're being maintained. So they were taken down for routine maintenance, but other than that, I just wanted to let all the people of Bayou Black Gibson know, and they're running. The problem is, even with these pumps, this is one of our largest, if not the largest basin we have. And, you know, with those pumps running, it may take 48 hours or so without any rain or water coming in to lower it an inch. So if you're getting rain and everything else, you know, naturally the pump's gonna be running, but right now water's gonna be going up. Once it stops, we'll be able to pump it, you know, start pumping it down. But the pumps are running. I wanted to, you know, assure the people of that. And I know you could have done the same thing, but, you know, I just so happened I had to deal with that just today, of people believing that it wasn't on. But thank you, Mike.
Yes, sir. Well, again, the motors are electric, so if the emergency generators are not running, you don't hear anything. We normally run 2 pumps at a time, because if we run any more, we actually suck down the conveyance canal with the water draining to it. Now, the reason we have 4 pumps is a couple of reasons. Number one, we alternate running of the pumps so that we don't put any undue hours on any individual pump, so they last twice as long. And then again, God forbid, if we have a serious rain event, we have the capability of turning all of the 4 pumps on at one time. But yes, sir, the pumps are full SCADA. They all operate automatically, and we can control them remotely.
And I imagine, I know we have an engineer in our audience, but I would imagine when the water levels are lower and those pumps are running, you'll see a strong water flow. But I imagine if the water is higher, you wouldn't visibly see the flow as much. I know Mr. O'Neill Marlborough's back there shaking his head yes. So you see, I stayed at a Holiday Inn Express once, but thank you for that.
Yes, sir. I forgot to mention that the engineer is GIS and the contractor is sea level. And if there are no other questions, I would like to call Mr. Clay Nakian up on my light to speak and bring the council up on the status of grass cutting in the parish. Mr. Clay?
Clay Nakian, Terrebonne Parish Solid Waste Director, Vegetation. It's that time of the year again. I'm sure y'all starting to get calls for grass cutting and stuff, and administration acts that try to show some distinctions in state roads and parish roads, what we take care of and what the state takes care of. Mike, you got the thing for us? So is it, Mike, this one?
Yeah, the one's right.
All right. Just going to briefly touch on state and parish roads, the parish right-of-way tractor cutting, parish roadway right-of-way for spraying. I'll finish mowing, parish tree trimming, litter crews, the public boat launches, the new MyGov connection app, and MyGov GPS. This is, and I do not want anyone to think that I'm trying to bash the state or administration's trying to bash the state. This is strictly for information, because I know these are the calls that we get at our office. This particular is at LA 20 and 3185. People call, we need a cut. We have to tell them to call the state. This is a state road, and the state's responsible for it. This is one on a state road that we do take care of, because it's the parish welcome sign, and we have that area right there. That's at the entrance coming in from Thibodeau. That is taken care of by our one of our maintenance contractors, fine mowing, so it stays good. This is another example of a state road. This is getting onto the Shreva overpass from the Highway 20 ramp. And again, again, I'm not trying to bash the state, I'm just trying to make sure that everybody understands that there's a lot of roads. Matter of fact, the state has 230 miles of roadway in Terrebonne Parish that they're responsible for. This here is moving to the east side of town, 24 at Presqu'île, Highway 57, Grand Caillou Road. This here is the state tractors. The state, from what I understand, has 2 tractors working Terrebonne Parish, and these 2 today was on 311, got a little water. But the state is cutting grass. I know they did 182. I rode that area this morning, and they did do 182 in the Gibson by Black area, and they started working on Highway 311, but they still got a ways to go on 311. And then this is East Tunnel. I think I missed a couple, but and this is Martin Luther King Boulevard coming out of Sam's parking lot. We get calls, we can't see to get out of the parking lot. You know, again, that's one of those things we have to tell the people they have to call the state. This is West Tunnel Boulevard. The neutral ground medium there, it's state responsibility. And now this is some of the parish roads. It's one of our contractors, Norris and Boudreaux, cutting Bull Run Road. It's a parish road, so we keep it up. This is these are examples of the parish roads that we take care of. Enterprise, Savannah Road. This is the South Hollywood Boulevard and the South Hollywood Road extension that we take care of. And Thompson Road, you know, we take care of this road here. And Val High. And just one thing I wanted to touch on, Mr. Guidry had called me the other day about Val High, that he sees one strip of grass cut. Someone called and said it's one strip of grass cut about 6 foot on a regular basis, and the rest is not. That area there does not have a shoulder. If we let the grass grow on our 6 to 7 weeks turnaround on the tractors, that grass would fall over into the roadway. So our maintenance crew, fine maintenance crew, mowing, cuts that area, that 1 6 foot area, just to keep the grass from falling into the roadway. And this is West Side Boulevard. We cut this here, the walking track there, both sides of that road there. The Vegetation Department, we have it's divided up into 4 areas. We have the roadside tractor cutting, the roadside chemical spraying, our finishing mowers, and our tree trimming crews. Currently, we have 9 tractors doing rough cuts, the side of the road, the shoulders, and the roadside ditches. Now, one thing that my department is not responsible for is the laterals. Anything that you can't get to on the side of the road is Public Works handles all the laterals and those type of ditches and levees. The north, we have the tractor route split up into 2 groups. The north route that has 7 routes that contains 130 miles one way. If you put both of them, it's 260 miles in that on the north side. And on the South Terrebonne side, we have 14 routes. And the reason for the difference in the routes is that the South Terrebonne side is a lot more spread out, so we got them separated so that we can better dispatch them. But 152 miles or 304 miles, which brings it to 564 miles of roadway that Terrebonne Parish takes care of. Norris and Boudreaux is our contractor and they help us. They do 38 miles of road cutting, and that's mainly our North Route 3 and 4, which is in the Shreva area. They take care of that so that we can move on. The good news is that last week we took delivery of our 2 new tractors that y'all let us, y'all agreed and voted on last June. It took us until last week to get them in. We have 5 more ordered, but they are not going to be in to the end of October. This is just the new tractor, just showing the new tractor working today. Actually, today was the first day they got on the road. We had to get service, get lights and GPS and stuff on them on there. This is just to touch on our spraying. You know, we try to go behind the tractors and spray about 7 to 10 days after the tractor cuts. Weather permitting, we go and we spray right behind them just to knock the foliage down, because it is about between 6 and 8 weeks turnaround for us to get back to the areas. So, so we go behind them and spray. And this is right up the road. That last picture was Southdown Mandalay. This is Southdown Mandalay. But just wanted to make sure y'all knew that, and the residents know that we recognize where the residents and businesses cut at, and we don't spray there. They take care of this here, so we stop spraying right before their property and let them keep their pretty lawns and everything. So we do recognize that, and we try to work with the residents that don't want to be sprayed, their property sprayed. But if we have to cut it, unless we get something back from them, we go and spray it if weather permits. And the spray we use is just to knock the foliage down, the green leaves. It's nothing to, it's not a sterilizer. It doesn't kill the roots. It just knocks the green foliage down. The parish finished mowing crew. We have a crew that cuts 45 different locations, different boulevards, roadsides that requires fine cutting, and they cut it on a 36-week base. That 36 weeks, what that contains is that during the summer months it gets cut weekly, and in the wintertime it goes down to twice a month, and I think like December and January once. We also have a boulevard contractor that cuts boulevards, and they have approximately 50 locations. And we also have another contractor that does our various locations. That includes government properties and the cemetery, the 3 cemeteries that we have. And we also have a park and grounds contract that handles the 13 parks that the parish is responsible for cutting. We have a tree crew that goes around, trims the trees, the small trees. We're not equipped for large stuff. They just go around trimming the neutral grounds. We get someone calls that we tend to stay under 17 foot high. We'll trim anything up to that. Other than that, we got a contractor. Matter of fact, we finally got someone to bid on a contract for tree trimming that we are going to be bringing to y'all short in the next few weeks. And the other thing is litter. In our budget that y'all gave us, we have a $150,000 budget for the inmate program. The program calls for 2 crews. Right now, the sheriff's office is still ramping up and getting their inmates back and getting their trustees, all their trustees in place. So right now we have 1 crew working, and we're only paying for 1 crew. I talked to the sheriff's office today. They say they're getting very close to getting the personnel and the trustees to start their 2nd crew, and we should see them in the next few weeks. The annual program for all the litter we have 2 crews that does litter, and that litter program costs us about $300,000 a year. This is just some of the numbers of litter. As you see in 2020 and 21, with COVID and all, the stuff started going down with Forest Sheriff's Office picking up litter. We had employees, we didn't have employees in 2021. We had a tough time getting employees, and it's all starting to pick back up now. So we should see these numbers going back up to unfortunately going back up to the 2019 or even more. I'd hope those numbers would stay down with the same amount of work, but it's not. Some of the stuff we're doing with the litter is, you see here, the orange litter cans. We have them at all our boat launches and all the parks that we're responsible for. We have Pelican Waste, our contractor, picks them up twice a week. So they pick it up. And then our boat launches that we take care of and maintain these boat launches and keep the garbage cans there. The last thing I have here is just, we always look in the way to get better with the public and trying to get more input from the public. We are meeting this Friday with MyGov, and we're expecting to go on trial basis June 28th with a MyGov app. I think Planning and Zoning may already use this app, but this app's going to be available to report tall grass, report debris piles, report litter, report illegal dumps. The good part about this here, once you get on this app, and you get it on your phone and you have your location turned on, all you have to do is whatever you have to report, if you had that location, you can take a picture of it and send it to us. It comes with the address and everything, the location, whatever the issue may be for us. And then we can also, if we can't handle it or if we got a time frame or whatever, we will be able to reply directly back to the person reporting on the app where we stand on that stuff. The other thing, this is the tractors. We get calls that tractors just sitting there, it's not doing anything, or it's just riding up and down, it's not cutting. Currently, all the tractors, all the solid waste vehicles, including mine, have GPS trackers. If there's a PTO switch in the vehicle, no matter if it's a street sweeper or a tractor, when they turn that PTO on, it notifies us when the PTO is on, so we know that they're actually working in the truck. In reverse with our grapple trucks, when their PTO is on, we know that they're on the side of the road. If they're on the side of the road, that PTO on, they picking up debris. So we have all the, my office staff has availability to this to watch what's going on. So we are able to better have, not say control over it, but when people calls us and say, have questions or whatever, we have this available. And that's all my presentation, but the main thing is that, again, I'm not trying to bash the state here. It's just a matter of trying to let people know that we can't cut on the state roads. We have enough to do on parish roads.
Now, Mr. Clay, those pictures you took, when did you take those pictures that you showed us of the different grass?
Yesterday and today.
Okay.
That was
And
yesterday and
you
today.
mentioned Tunnel Boulevard, the Tunnel Boulevard part in front of like Vanderbilt and those areas. That is state highway?
Correct.
So
That's
those
all-
medians are cut by state?
Correct.
Right. Ms. Domingue?
Yeah, thank you, Clay, and I don't mind bashing the state. You can let me do that. We appreciate everything you guys have done and all the cleanup work that you've done post-Ida. I mean, it's been an incredible job that you guys have done to get us where we are right now. I know that you guys must have just started cutting the grass in like the last week, 2 weeks or so, because there's an incredible amount of trash underneath where they cut the grass. And it must be you know, some storm debris or just trash that, and so the mowers came, and then are you guys gonna come back and clean up the trash or all that litter? I mean, cause it's just an incredible amount of trash
Yeah.
in many of the areas I represent anyway.
Yes, Sheriff's Office, that's one of the things I talked to the Sheriff's Office today about, and that's one of their goals right now is going behind where we cutting at. Actually, they went on 182 and they did some areas on 311 after the state did cut where they did. But they also falling behind where, and not only that, but like on St. Louis Canal Road, that's one of our regular areas that my litter crews handle, so they was out there picking up over there. But I'm gonna tell you, we've cut out there, and when I passed out there today, I'm like, and the litter people passed, and his back got lit. I mean, it's not raining litter from, you know, there's people throwing the litter there, so
Absolutely, yeah.
we're trying.
I wish we would start caring about our parishes, you know. So my second question, and this is no attack on anyone, it's just a real curiosity. And, you know, I've got a lot of friends in governments all over the state, and so I talk to a lot of people. Some other parishes, they actually have contracts with the state that they cut the grass and the state pays them. So let's just say Assumption, and I don't know if it's, but so Assumption actually gets paid by the state to go ahead and maintain those state highways. Have we ever looked into that, or have we ever tried something like that?
Yes, and let me just tell you a little bit of one that I know, because I contacted Mr. Bo LaGrange and Morgan with St. Mary Parish. They have Morgan City area and all, and I called them and I just asked him for rough numbers because he was busy at the time, and he told me that that area they get about $85,000 a year to cut that area. And if you come from Lafayette, you know what I'm talking about. That
I grew up in that area, I know,
right?
yeah.
And it's costing them. The last time he said he put a pencil to it, $350,000 a year to keep that up. So the amount the state pays versus what we do is it's not cost effective. I think the last time I looked at, they was paying $250 a linear mile to cut. The liability that goes along with cutting and break one windshield, and that goes to $250 for that mile, and then the tractor and the cost of fuel and everything. I have talked to some of our state representatives, and when they asked about it, and I said, y'all need to see about getting that price up. If they could get that price up and justify it. I talked to Mr. Dove about it. Mr. Dove is very willing to do it if it's revenue neutral, but right now it would put an unbelievable burden on our budget just to try to keep up with the state.
Yeah, and I remember last year too, Mr. Amity had reached out to DOTD and had wrote some letters, and so I know that we've been proactive on our end. Yeah, and so, you know, hopefully maybe he can get Ms. Barrel to help out with some of that as well, to be able to work out, because it seems like we would be able to take care of our own quicker than the state can come in and do it, because it's just going to continue to get longer. But we do appreciate everything that you do.
And just note, like I said, the state has 230 miles. We would have to double everything. And not to mention, if we started to do that today, we couldn't because of the equipment shortage and everything else. We wouldn't be able to start that, but it would be something to look at and get started.
Something to look at in the future. Thank you.
Now, Mr. Clay, you showed two tractors that the state had that they were cutting. How many tractors do you know? How many tractors the state has that they're cutting?
I have been told two. That's the two there is the two that they have assigned to Terrebonne Parish right now. They having the same issues as the rest of us as far as maintenance and parts and ordering new equipment. Like I said, you know, last June we ordered two. We got it in May of this year.
Mr. Trosclair.
Yes, couple of things. First thing is kind of on a light note, Clay. I didn't see any, maybe I didn't see it, but I'm gonna ask Mr. Guidry and Mr. Danny Babin, did you see any pictures from down the body grasses on the parish roads? Okay, but.
You want Mr. Guidry to answer that?
Yeah, go
Mr.
ahead.
Dirk Guidry?
I didn't see that, but I seen Clay's tractors down the bar cutting grass yesterday, so.
Yeah, I know they're down there, but he didn't take any pictures. But anyway, my main question is, who's responsible for spraying Bio Blue?
The state,
The state.
yes.
All the bodies right now.
It's 316, they're responsible
For the bayou
for
itself.
the bayou itself, the state.
Okay. Because I get a lot of calls for vegetation in the bayou, especially like, I don't remember the address, but where Robert Hess lives in that area
Yeah.
right there, you know, just before he gets to was it the Prospect Road. But anyway, okay, that's what my question was. Thanks.
And lily spraying is also state, right?
Was it-
Spraying lilies in the bayous is also state, wildlife and fisheries.
That would be a question maybe for Mr. Toops. I don't know if it's the state or if it's Public Works. I don't know that.
Well, that's what I've been told by our
Yeah,
Public Works
I-
Department. Mr. Babin?
Yeah, Clay, first I want to congratulate you on the great job that you're doing, okay? You mentioned the parks, and every time I see you, I tell you, Mulberry Park looks like it's just been cut, and that's just one of them that you do, okay? But the new system that you put in is doing a much better job throughout the parish. You know, you talked about the state and not bashing, and Ms. Domingue said she doesn't have a problem bashing the state, neither do I, okay? Because the last 2 years in a row, Mr. Lovell from By the Lodge and Mr. Terrio from By the Lodge each used their own tractors because it was so dangerous. With the help of the fire department, Quint Line and his group, and the sheriff's department with putting the car down there, they cut the shoulders on By the Lodge because it was so dangerous, all right? So this is people that did it at their own expense, and they did it safely with the fire engines and the police that are doing it. But that's unacceptable, you know, but you can't do it. You mentioned Ms. Domingue, which was a good idea. About a year ago at an MPO meeting, it was brought up. The state individual there brought something up, and I brought that to Clay. And like he said, even if it was revenue neutral, we'd be glad to do it, because then we would not get all of the calls because we'd do a better job than the state. But it's cost prohibitive, and that was before the diesel price increase. So I know now it would be. So this summer, just from a state perspective, this summer doesn't look like it's going to be too good for Steve and Dirk and I down the bayous, but we all have state highways. So again, I appreciate the work that y'all doing, and I think some of the spraying is Public Works, okay, on the canals. Wildlife and Fisheries, I think, does not spray lilies anymore. If they do, they're doing a poor job of it. But in any event, thank you for what you do. And I don't know if this is the appropriate time, but we have somebody coming up later on a speaker card to talk about one particular item. And this is, we talk about capital projects, including drainage, utility, road, quality of life projects. I would just like to, at this point, say I'd like to see on the next agenda if we can give an update, a current update on the power plant and on the Bukay Bridge down in Dulac. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Navy?
Yeah, Claire, I just want to say also, I think you're doing a great job. But you mentioned something about the app that I was curious about. I was trying to look up something about that also. So you're saying that you can actually go to a location and they'll tell you the site, right?
Yes.
We're talking about on private property or a commercial property or what? I wouldn't want anybody going anybody.
Well,
You know.
and that's what, the work orders will not be created by them doing it. It'll be, it's a request for a work order.
Okay.
So we'll look at it, and it's gonna have to meet the same criteria as anything we have now. So if someone takes a picture and says that they got tall grass there, and then and it's on private property, we would tell them, hey, that's a nuisance abatement problem,
Okay.
and you
That's
need to take it there. It's just a matter of, if you see a debris pile on the side of the road and you want it picked up, or you think it, and you take a picture of it and you send it to us, and it's something that we do pick up, then, you know, Mr. John Navy submitted it, but it's legal to be picked up, so we're gonna put it on our list to be picked up.
Okay, I was wondering about that because I know Jessica and them, and you were saying about litter, because I know we have a lot of litter, but it also, we have, you know, litter, and since we're talking about quality of life, and it's all under this topic and the agenda, but, you know, we got a lot of litter, we got a lot of slumlords too with litters and don't take care of the property. So would that also be an eligible situation for you all with that app that you got?
If it came to us and it wasn't us, it would,
Fall under them?
eventually, from what I understand, a lot of the departments are gonna be on this. I know Chris and them's department's already on there, so if that came to us, we would just forward it to, or let the person know, hey, we forwarded it to nuisance and abatement, and your follow-ups will come from them and not us, you know, to let them know that it didn't fall on our department.
Because I get a lot of complaints, especially coming out of the tunnel, some blighted property, and even some slumlords that the neighbors are complaining about. And the slumlords don't, you know, take care of the property, but they got a whole bunch of trash and everything. So I just wonder if that would be eligible to fall under some of those criteria. It would be?
You
Okay.
able to, like I say, if it comes to us, and if it doesn't fall underneath us, we're gonna forward to the department that it
Okay,
needs to go
great.
to, but we're gonna let the person, if they send it to solid waste vegetation, we're gonna let them know, look, we forwarded, you won't be getting any more follow-ups from us, because the way this, even right now, what we currently have on Hyperweb that we're using, if you use the internet and you give it to us through the internet, you'll get a response back from us saying that we received your response, your work orders in order, placed in order to be done. And once it's completed, you get another email back saying that your work order has been closed. Thank you for using this thing. And that's going to be done.
And that was my next question, was that would they get some confirmation showing that was actually sent out?
Yes,
Okay,
and
great.
what it's gonna do is, when you send it into us, and say it's a commercial building, and it's
Yes.
not eligible for us to pick up, we would send whoever sent the thing in through the app, we would
Okay.
send them back to them, letting them know the parish ordinance, and it's not acceptable that you're responsible for hauling your trash away yourself, you know, from a commercial building, or, you know, whatever the parish ordinance may be.
And I think that's great. I think that's a great thing y'all doing, because definitely for the blighted property, these slumlords, I think that's a good thing, that'll address that situation with them too. But thank you, I appreciate that.
Mr. Harding.
Yes, to follow up on your MGO, I thank Mr. Mike Toots, Chris Pulaski, and we had discussed this before in a council meeting, and I think it's a good app that you have, but I think also what we're going to do is apply that to our public works, where those folk that make complaints. I think we also were adding the fact that each individual council member will be able to pull up off that app also. And as we get our return complaints, and sometimes people will make a complaint and say, hey, look, I called in 10 times, this, that, and the other, yada, yada. So we actually have proof from both ends where everybody is going to be held accountable for the system itself. Yes, sir.
One of our last meetings, I invited Mr. Toop to come over, and that was to the meeting with MGO, and that was one of the things we talked about, is having a weekly report or daily report, I think it's weekly, that we talked about, that we go to y'all and let y'all know what's in y'all district, what's been reported to us. Because a lot of times we'll get calls from y'all that says, hey, you got something said. Yeah, we got. So this way y'all will get it. And no, that report has not been developed yet, but that's one of the things that'll come after we implement it and see where we stand at and get it working.
Yeah, I'm glad you covered the lateral ditches, because we get a lot of phone calls about lateral ditches when you look at the fact that, you know what I mean, public works, or whether it be solid waste. I was rather concerned about the Gibson area, which we're talking about the blacktop side, and they're generally concerned about that also. It's difficult because, you know, I had that same type of job that you have. It's difficult when it's raining, you can't cut.
Right.
And sometimes in rural areas, you have certain situations where those tractors cannot go there. Right. And so I wanted that to be understood with the public also. The people that have a relationship and cut some of the areas that for the parish, do you have a relationship with them in reference to the spraying of it? Is that a combination do you have with them?
With our contractor?
Yeah, your contractor.
Well, right now, they backed up with a lot of work, so we're going behind them after they cut, and they telling us what areas, what roads they cutting, and we're going behind them and cutting, spraying behind them to try to keep it knocked down.
Yeah, and hopefully when the sheriff gets those guys back with covering Miss Domain, which her concern was, sometimes it's better to pick up the trash before it's cut.
Right.
So you got less trash to pick up because the mowers will go there and just spread out more, just cut it up and be more. So that's part of the problem too. And it's three things. I'm gonna say them all at once, and then I'll be finished. It seems as if the insurance companies are paying off, and I've been riding throughout Terrebonne Parish in my district, and I'm seeing more debris being placed out in people's yards because they're making more repairs, or people returning back, and we had a certain amount of time when we had the company out here and picking up the trash. So that also makes a point where I had a circumstance today where a person, again, I need you to explain this. If you have a bill and you have trash, that's and whether you're able to pick it up or you're not able to pick it up, and there are circumstances that when people bring in trash to the dump, you have to make the decision where they bring it from their property. So there's a difference between commercial and private dumping. That could you explain that for me so
Well,
the rest of the people can hear it?
Yeah, well, when they come to the, if it's coming from your property, if you're doing the work at your property, it doesn't cost you anything. We take it. But if you're a business doing work and it costs you $42 a ton to dump it, a lot of people, they'll come in and say, well, I'm doing it for something, I'm doing it for a favor for such and such, but we can't take that. I mean, we'd be chasing that all day long. So we have a set thing set up. If the resident's there with them and say, hey, I'm not paying this guy to dump, it's me, there's no charge for it. But if you come over there, you got stickers on your truck that you're commercial, the problem is a lot of these people, most of them are charging the residents for dumping. Then they come to us and try to get it free so they can pocket that money themselves. We see it all the time. So the good's got to suffer for the bad, so we got to have it one way because we can't chase it.
An individual in the city, okay, if he has a lot, and let's say, for instance, a tree fell down, he has to get that commercially removed, or
right now, if it's if he can show that it came from the hurricane, and he cuts it, puts it at the roadside, we'll pick it up right now. Typically, if it's not in hurricane season and you cut in a vacant lot and you're not participating in it, you don't live there, it's on you to get it there. And we have that in parish ordinances that it's called land clearing, if they clean in the land or whatever. But if they live there, it's no charge. But right now, if it falls and they say it's Hurricane Ida, they cut it, stack it at the road, we'll pick it up right now. We still picking up because people are still having time trying to get there.
and finally, Popeye's tunnel. The area over there, who's responsible for the grass that's there?
That right now is under Public Works. They are still doing, I know for a fact, I was out the other day when I saw you in that area, I happened to run into Joey Cian, and they was out there, they're getting ready to put a fence around there, and usually after they put the fence and they accept it, they'll call me and say, hey, Clay, we need to add this to the contract to get cut. But right now, it's still under Public Works.
All right, thank you. We need to get that fence up there. Thank you.
Mr. Amity.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Nake, first of all, thank you for highlighting Schriever. The state, we fight with them all the time, from Highway 24 at Coteau all the way through my district to the Thibodaux line and going up Highway 20 toward Morgan City as well. That area is very dangerous because the roads are different levels. So when you're coming across from the southbound lanes to go to the northbound lanes, the tall grass is taller than the cars, and you can't see what's going on. And just like what some people have done on Doulard, some people in the Schriever area have taken it upon themselves to at least cut some of it to clear the line of sight. So I thank you for highlighting that. Going back to Bayou Blue, I'll tell you what the state told me. They cut up to the telephone poles, the power poles, and they don't go beyond that. So the problem I have on Bayou Blue, because the Bayou Blue, the center of Bayou Blue is the parish line. So they cut all nice and pretty all the way up to the power pole, and then you have about another 5 feet before you get to the actual bayou that grows up real tall. And I know Jim was in here somewhere because we share a lot of that road. And I always get calls for that because we take care of some of the spraying, and they always ask, well, can y'all spray this? Can y'all spray that? The other thing the state tells me is that they cut the parish 3 times during the cutting season. You know, I know you were saying it's 6 to 8 weeks for you guys, and they deal with the same thing. And I don't mind bashing them either, and I bash them a lot through my wife to get her to bash them. But unfortunately, I mean, they face the same thing as us, manpower shortages and equipment breakage, but I just want to thank you for the job that you guys do. We can always call on you if we have an issue, and you jump right on it. So, yeah, sometimes the parish grass gets a little tall too, but at least you guys are right on it. I did ask for the state to come and give a presentation. They started working on it, and then with the storm, they figured they'd cop out, so I'll be back on that as well. I know Rotary had the Secretary of Transportation some time back. I wish I had known that because I'd have sure went grab Mr. Wilson and drag him to one of our meetings. But thank you for explaining some of this so that the public knows, because a lot of times, you know, taxpayers are saying we're paying taxes, why is this not getting done? And unfortunately, in government, there are differences, and while we can do some agreements, there's a lot in play, and there's a lot of responsibility and liability that we take on when we take on doing their work. So it's not a real simple procedure. It's kind of complicated, and if we take on a liability and get sued for it, then that's more of their local tax dollars being spent on that. So I just want the public to know we would love to do it, but there's a lot more to it than what we have to. It's not as simple as just going around out there and cutting it. But again, thank you for highlighting the Highway 20 area up in Schriever and the Schriever overpass, because I get a lot of calls on those areas. And now if I can just get those purple lights on the overpass glowing white, we'll be all good. So thank you, sir.
Mr. Amity has an interesting point with the telephone poles. When your guys are out picking up litter, do we have to stop at the telephone poles, which is our public, or what if it's a Batcher property and it goes all the way down to the bayou?
Our standard deal with the litter crews is up to the utility poles or the fire hydrants. If they can reach it without encroaching on the people's property, get it. But if they have to get on the residence property or commercial property, leave it alone. That's what we tell them as a rule of thumb, is the telephone poles, fire hydrants, stuff like that. It's usually where the right-of-way ends.
And litter doesn't stop at the telephone poles, so it's possible you could have just passed an area and people would still see litter along the bayou.
Yes.
Mr. Michel.
I'd like to add to what Councilman Babin said. In addition, if we could request in 2 weeks to also have an update on the maintenance of the lateral ditches, Ms. Tammy, because that's the calls I'm getting all the time. These people are trying to maintain their property and they can't. The ditches are too steep or whatever. They can't get into there to maintain those. I'm getting calls on Alma Street. I'm getting calls between Douglas and Broadmoor. They sprayed Collins Street, and I realize this is not you, but it is part of the agenda item. But they sprayed Collins Street, but didn't cut it. And they have these little trees that are starting to grow, and the problem is gonna escalate. And these little trees are happening everywhere, and we're just not getting this job done. We're not getting the lateral ditches addressed the way that we need to in this parish, and we need to do something about that. So I hope that Public Works can come and be here in 2 weeks and tell us how that's being addressed, because it's not being addressed sufficiently at this point. Thank you.
And by the way, I took the liberty of texting Mr. David Rome, our Public Works Director, asking him, do we spray any lilies and bayous? Are any of our responsibility, or is it 100% state? And he says, no, sir, 100% state. We do not have responsibility for any lilies. Ms. Domingue.
Okay. And I echo what Mr. Michel says. I get those calls all the time, so I would appreciate that conversation. So just one more question. I want to go back to looking at contracting with the state. So would it be possible, and I know you have to ask the question to be told no, but would it be possible, if not, we looked at not contracting for all the state highways, but just those hot spots? So kind of like in Mr. Amity's area, or just those really dangerous areas, if we just did those, would that be possible?
We would have to see what the cost was, what it is. But I'm gonna tell you, if I go, you open it up, I'm looking at Councilman there, what about my district, what about down here? So it's, yeah, it's possible, but that would be, I would talk it over with administration and.
So
we'll
if
see what's-
we say, maybe we just did 50%, not, and of course the bayou, but, maybe not 100% of the state highways, maybe we just did 50% of the state highways. I don't know, it seems like we need to do something, yeah.
Again, it's just, when you're saying 50%, now we're talking, 160 miles of roadway, 165 miles of roadway, double that, and then also on the state, they have more strenuous, you gotta sign an agreement with them, and you gotta follow all their protocols for traffic and everything else with them. I mean, anything's possible. Whatever way I'm directed to handle with the state roads, I'm not turning anybody down. I'm not saying, no, I can't do it. I'll find a way to do it if I'm told to get it done. But that's, I know that it will be a tough task to get done.
And I completely agree. I just think that we need to do something different.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thanks, Ms. Domingue. Mr. Trosclair.
Yeah, everybody got the chance to batch a state. I want to batch a state one time. Last year, the state had a tractor parked on the side of the road at Presque for over a month and a half with a flat tire. So I can see why it takes them so long to cut grass. And I'm sure, tubes and stuff are hard to get, but a month and a half for a flat tire, it's kind of excessive. Thank you.
And if they only have 2 tractors, then that means they were down to 1. Mr. Babin.
Yeah, just a quick, on doing 50%, and that's a great idea. We think we can do it. But if we lose money on a mile, we're gonna lose the same amount of money on 100 miles. No matter what we do, you put the math to it, and it's not feasible for us. It's not economically feasible for us to even make it revenue neutral. And if you want to see some trash, unfortunately, Clay has to pass it every day going down to his office by the dump. From Thompson Road down to the parish dump, we got more trash there than the law allows because we are getting some debris flying out of vehicles. The state goes there and cut it, and it actually looked better with the grass tall than it did with all the trash. And until the sheriff can get his crews going 100%, but we also need to start cracking down on the litterers in this parish. And we as a council need to come up with some idea. It may not be the final solution, but some idea better than what we have right now in terms of fines and whatever. As we talk about cameras all the time, cameras could pick up a lot of the vehicles that are going without a cover on them or whatever to the dump. So we as a council need to come up with a little bit more meat to put in it, and maybe we can collect a few dollars and get things a little bit cleaner. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Babin. And Mr. Harding.
Yeah, finally. The state haven't called me back to come to work again. I'm not going to say I'm going to bash them, but I know the circumstances that you're in, and this is a difficult thing. Weather can determine the difference in whether you keep pace or not. I see you have new slope mowers and stuff like that. You got better reach with the slope mowers and stuff. Having updated equipment makes a difference also. I personally know, even though I worked in the Fouche Parish, I mean, it was a maintenance problem. It is a funding problem, having enough tractors. Nowadays, not only you have to have tractors, you have to have qualified individuals to operate them. And we're having a shortage of people working in these areas too. So I'm supporting you, and I must say, if anybody out there need my assistance in reference to trying to make the relationship between the parish and the state work well, because there are some instances, even with drainage. We have drain right here and a drain right there. One is the parish is going into the state. You know, I mean, I've called both ends in the area of I had to call Mr. Amedee's wife in the area that we had an impasse at. You know, I mean, one person putting it on one person, and they're putting it on the other person's. So I'm pretty sure if the citizens out there can see Terrebonne Parish and they actually have any contact with the state, let's push for a better relationship between the two and some type of agreement that we can actually have. There's no sense to having tall grass right here and 4 foot over there. You have the grass cut, you know what I mean? And so it should be something as simple as that. You know what I mean? It's all taxpayers' dollars. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nakhan. Anything else, Mike? Anything else, Mike?
No, sir.
All right, moving along. We're on item E, resolution providing for canvassing the returns and declaring the results of the special election of the North Terrebonne Recreation District held March 26, 2022. Moved by Mr. Gerald Michel, seconded by Mr. John Amedee. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Moving on to G is a motion to discuss with possible action relative to the Parade of Champions. Mr. Steve Trosclair makes that motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Jessica Domingue. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Go ahead, Steve.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I put this on the agenda because, after South Terrebonne and Vanderbilt won the state championship in baseball, I had an idea of putting a parade on for those guys, and it ended up after, doing some starting to get it going, we ended up with, a lot more state champions than we thought, so we include everybody in it. What I'm proposing to do, and I spoke to President Dove, and he is in 100% support of it. I'm proposing that we make this an annual event. Whether it's sponsored by the parish solely, or maybe in a CEA with the school board, along with the school board, where we don't only include athletes, maybe something in the line of, maybe assigning a float to each high school, and include academics, science fair winners, or whatever the school determines to have on there, and make an annual event out of these kids. You know, these kids that were here tonight, that we recognize tonight, you know, those kids are not, they aren't any less than the state champions that we recognize Sunday at the Civic Center, you know. Those guys work just as hard, if not harder, than some of those baseball players and track players, track runners, and basketball teams that were there. So, you know, I still believe we don't acknowledge our youth, you know, enough on the positive aspects of their accomplishments as a society. You know, we try to do it here as a parish right here through our council meetings as much as we possibly can, as much as we know about. But I don't think that's enough, you know, public acclamations to these guys. And so my proposal, you know, if I can get support on it, I'd like to have administration look into whether it should be a CEA between the 5 high schools in the parish, or the parish just put it on and you know, acknowledge these kids. I think it, you know, it's something we should do to acknowledge the youth of our parish on their accomplishments, because we do have a lot of accomplished young adults and young students in our parish that don't ever get any recognition whatsoever. You know, most of these kids, had we not bring them here, you know, nobody, I guarantee nobody, unless you're a parent or a close friend, would have even known about this group of kids. And I call them kids, but they're young adults, you know, and they you know, they don't get the appreciation from the general public that I think that I'd like to see them get, you know, as a rule. So if I can get the support, you know, I'll make a motion that we get administration to look into the feasibility and funding and what it would take to put an annual event on. And, you know, because we're not going to have state champions every year. You know, we're not going to have a state champion baseball, football, basketball team. Maybe some years we don't have any state champions. But that don't mean we don't have any athletes, those students that are deserving of acknowledgement, you know, by the parish or by the people of the parish. So
we have a motion by Mr. Trosclair to
have administration look into putting a resolution, you know, an ordinance together to make this an annual event, whether it be CA with the schools or entirely by the parish.
So we have a motion, Mr. Trosclair, seconded by Mr. Babin. Any discussion? Mr. Navy?
Yeah, I know you said 5, but you might want to add like Covenant Christian and Homer Christian too. Those schools also.
I thought that was 5, maybe more. But
Yeah,
all the high schools
all
in
the
the
high
parish.
schools, I think, yeah.
And you know, and also, I didn't realize on this last event that we put on, the Special Olympic teams. You know, they compete every year too. So we want to include those athletes in this program also. And the VOTEC. Oh, yeah, right, certainly, yeah. And you know, and I don't think it should be the government, parish government determining who who's eligible to be on these floats. They should come from the schools, because they know these students, you know, inside and out and dearly, and they know their accomplishments. But I think, you know, I'd like to see the schools be responsible for you know, assigning the kids to the floats. But I think it's, you know, it's something we need to do.
Thank you, Mr. Trosclair. Mr. Harding?
Yeah, I'm rather supportive of it also, Steve. It sounds more like the close of the year accomplishment parade or something like that. It doesn't necessarily have to be any champions, because all of our children in our own eyes are champions. So it's something to support the schools and the children. Hopefully we can actually, with all safety factors involved, with this day's world, that we can have a parade for our kids.
Hold on. Go ahead, Mr.
No,
Trosclair.
go ahead.
Yeah, and I was thinking that the name of the parade, the Terrebonne Parish Parade of Champions, would suffice for these kids too, because they are champions, whether they're a super athlete or they're a super academic, dean's list or whatever, they still a champion in my eyes.
Anything else, Mr. Harding?
No, I'm good.
Okay, Ms. Domingue?
Yeah, and I just want to congratulate you and thank you, Mr. Trosclair, because this was kind of your brainchild, and the event on Sunday was beautiful. It was really nice to see the kids, and even though they didn't get to get on the float, they were just so happy to be there, and the smiles on their faces, you could really tell that they were very appreciative of what you did and what we were able to do for them. So I want to thank you for even bringing this up, because it really did mean a lot. So thank you.
Yeah, and I too want to thank you, Steve. And the good thing about doing it this way is perhaps a date can be picked so the schools will know way ahead of time what you did, what you pulled off in such a short amount of time to even, come close to, and being ready to do a parade, although it wasn't able to happen. I mean, yeah, you put a lot of work into it and you did a lot, and I don't know if people realize that, but thank you, Steve, for what you did. Okay, moving along, public wishing to address the council? Oh, I'm sorry, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 2, public wishing to address the council as per speaker cards in accordance with Section 2-07E of the Terrebonne Parish Home Rule Charter. The public will be heard and can speak for 3 minutes on any matter related to parish government without discussion or questions and answers on non-agenda items. And we have Mr. Joe Boudreau, who requests to speak about FEMA Temporary Housing Evergreen Group.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was already here for my daughter's in the Vanderbilt Terror Regiment, so it was great. Get to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Members of the council, a recent emergent order has been presented for a FEMA trailer site at 110 Evergreen, which is TR-13, in a tract of land that's located between Southern Estates, the backside of the Bayou Board of Realtors, and St. Mart Funeral Home, which is on the south side of Mr. Henry Richard's development there. So we are, let's see, where am I at? So as a representative of the adjacent neighborhood, Southern Estates, and a taxpayer in this parish, this letter is presented to reconsider this development proposal at this time to a different area, as this is not conducive for our adjoining neighborhood, Southern Estates, North Park, and Evangeline, which is the DSLD development just south of us. By having 62 proposed units, will have the following impact. 1 is a strain to our already struggling drainage system, Bayou Terrebonne and the CCC. DSLD is currently making plans for the next phase of their Evangeline neighborhood, and I don't recall how many homes are going to go there, but I think it's quite a few hundred there. If you've ridden past there, I know Chris is well acquainted with that one. Congested traffic in the area that already exists post Ida, and I'll pull this up real quick. FEMA Section 5.8 Traffic and Transportation addresses only the construction period of this 18-month period of this housing site. We object to this limited view of traffic impact. Daily traffic backup of half mile or more on Highway 24 are now the norm. We believe that increased traffic activity near HLB High School, along with existing Covenant Christian Academy, are the primary cause of this backup. Also further strain on HL Bourgeois, Evergreen, and Oakshire. Immediate negative impact on home valuation. If you'd like to have further discussion with that, I'd be happy to do that. Violation of code zoning for that tract of land. Mr. Pulaski could probably speak a little bit more to that specific tract of land. While we understand the need for an emergency placement of individuals, we request that a true bid proposal be considered for several areas that will not cause undue stress to the surrounding neighborhoods and businesses. A temporary facility that is already set up for this type of camp could be the Houma Civic Center, which has capacity, which has hookups, and will help to offset any lost revenue with the income provided by FEMA. I'd like to recognize Mr. Bill Boyd back here, who is a former real estate commissioner appointed by the governor, and also a past president of the Bayou Board of Realtors. Appreciate him and his support here. And thank you for taking the time to listen to my objection of this FEMA site at Evergreen. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Boudreau. Next is Mr. Michael Tate, who wishes to speak about the Falgo Canal Bridge connecting Grand Caillou Road.
Thanks for giving me a chance to address y'all. And the whole issue is the Bukay Bridge. I live on the southern end of Shrimpers Row, and access for our mail, emergency. We have another access on Coulon Bridge, which is north, and when the Falgo pontoon bridge over to Holman Ave is working, we have access. But the Bukay Bridge was the only one that was consistently available. Today, when I came here, I had to drive through water on Shrimpers Row, going north to get to the Coulon Bridge, which is a bridge north of the Bukay Bridge. It's been out, obviously, since the hurricane, and I think the bridge was also damaged by a boat. I know it was. And I was just wanting y'all to understand what happens to us when we can't get our mail. Some of us get our pharmacist prescriptions by mail, and the mail service will not drive through water. So today, we would miss our mail service because they're not going to come down Shrimpers Road from the north because there's water on the road. And Falgo Canal, Holman Ave pontoon is not in service today, and it's blocked off. So just wanting a chance that the council understands the issue there, how serious it is for us, and hopefully maybe we could get some kind of timeline when that might be put back in service. You know, I'm a civil engineer in the earlier life, and I understand the issues. I think the state's probably got to do some inspection and that type of stuff. But it's been 9 months. And we're not getting any sense that anything's going anywhere. Now, that may be wrong. But anyway, thanks for the opportunity, Danny. I've talked to him, Mr. Danny Babin, and just an opportunity for the people down there to come here and tell y'all how serious that is for us. But thanks for having me. And hopefully maybe next I could come back, maybe we'll have some kind of results y'all could share with us on a timeline of what's going to happen.
Thank you, Mr. Tate. Moving into 6:30 public hearing, we have an ordinance to authorize the acquisition of property sites and/or servitudes required to provide a public boat landing adjacent to the Bayou Petit Caillou that facilitates and promotes boating, fishing, and hunting. Public once, public twice, third time public. Motion to close, Mr. Dirk Guidry, seconded by Mr. Steve Trosclair. All in favor say aye. Motion to adopt, Mr. Dirk Guidry, seconded by Mr. Danny Babin. Any discussion, Mr. Dirk Guidry?
Yeah, this is a project I've been working on for about 10 years about getting the boat launch down in Cocodrie. We are the fishing capital of the world. I got with Mr. Dove about a year ago, and we finally convinced to make a deal with Mr. Eric and Christy Carrere. So I'd like to really thank them for letting us have that. They could have got a better price for it, but they were community-minded, and they wanted to make sure that we always did have a boat launch there, so because an oyster fisherman wanted to buy it for his own private use. So thank you for anybody that has something to do with it, and we're gonna have us a nice boat launch. It's about the bulkhead, the land, the frontage on the bayou is 420 feet, so it's gonna really be a nice boat launch. And I talked to Mr. Clay Knockhand, they're gonna maintain it. So thank you all for anybody that has something to do with it. Thank you.
We have a motion and a second to approve the ordinance. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Ordinance is approved. Item B, an ordinance to dedicate and accept the maintenance operation of the streets, drainage servitudes, sewer, and right-of-ways of Park Evangeline Subdivision, Phase B. Energize and accept the street lights and to incorporate Sophie Drive and the extension of Marie Claire Drive and Ruse de Fer into the Emergency 911 emergency response system for the purpose of providing a better means of locating addresses. Public once, public twice, third call for public. Motion to close, Mr. Gerald Michel, seconded Mr. Carl Harding. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion to adopt, Mr. Gerald Michel, seconded Mr. Carl Harding. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ordinance is adopted. 3, committee reports. A, Public Service Committee. Mr. Amity.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I make a motion that the council accept and ratify the minutes of the Public Services Committee held on May 23rd, 2022, and I have no public hearings.
Motion, Mr. Amity, seconded, Mr. Dirk Gidry. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Item B, Budget and Finance Committee. Mr. Carl Harding.
Thank you, sir. I make a motion that the council accept and ratify the minutes of the Budget and Finance Committee held on May 23rd, 2022. I have one public hearing. It is introducing the ordinance to amend the 2022 adopted operation budget and 5-year capital outlay budget in Terrebonne Parish consolidated government for the following items and to provide for related matters. La Petite Facility Improvement, $20,000. Homer Police Department LCLE grant, $30,000, and call for a public hearing on said matter on Wednesday, June 8, 2022 at 6:30 p.m.
Motion, Mr. Harding, seconded by Mr. John Amity. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion is approved. Moving to appointments to various boards, committees, and commissions. Recreation District Number 2-3 Board, 2 vacancies due to resignations. Chad Adams submits application and resume for consideration. Ms. Therese McCormick submits application and resume for consideration. Mr. Ryan Page submits application and resume for consideration. Mr. Michel.
Yes, I would just like to mention that Ms. Therese McCormick is in the audience today, and I want to thank you for applying. We need strong females who can help with leading the different activities in the parish, and especially since you live in the Broadmoor area, we need some diversity because a lot of our Rec 2-3 board is from the 311 corridor. So, thank you. Thank you.
Motion by Mr. Babin to open, close, and vote, seconded by Mr. Michel. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Mr. Hampton, do you want to call roll call vote?
Yes, sir. Mr. Amade?
McCormick, Page.
Ms. Domingue?
McCormick, Page.
Mr. Darren Gidry?
Adams Page.
Mr. Babin?
Adams, McCormick.
Mr. Dirk Gidry?
Adams, Ms. McCormick.
Mr. Trosclair?
Adams, McCormick.
Mr. Navy?
Adams,
Mr. Harding?
McCormick Page.
Mr. Michel?
Adams, McCormick.
Mr. Chairman, that is 6 votes for Mr. Adams, 8 votes for Ms. McCormick, and 4 votes for Mr. Page.
So Ms. McCormick and Mr. Adams are the new board members. Ms. McCormick, would you like to say something? You go ahead and come up to the mic if you don't mind.
I thank you for the opportunity to serve the youth of our area. I'm a 26-year teacher, and I have children who have come through the system as well as my own participation as a child. So I look forward to working to help our districts, bring up to what the surrounding areas have and provide those opportunities for our students and our children.
Thank you for putting your name up.
No
And for
problem.
volunteering. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Moving along, Recreation District Number 9 Board, 1 expiring term on June 8th, 2022. Ms. Janelle Bonflag expresses her interest in being reappointed. Motion to open, close, and reappoint Ms. Janelle. And motion by Mr. Danny Babin, seconded by Mr. Gerald Michel. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Ms. Janelle is reappointed. Item C, Library Board of Control, 1 expiring term on June 24th. Mr. John Paul Olivier expresses his interest in being reappointed. Motion to open, close, and reappoint Mr. Michel, seconded by Mr. Harding. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Mr. Olivier is reappointed. Item D, Consolidated Waterworks, 1 expiring term on June 24th, 2022, representing District Number 3. Mr. Kenneth Ellender expresses his interest in being reappointed. Motion to open, close, and reappoint Mr. Michel, seconded by Mr. Babin. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Mr. Ellinger is reappointed. Item E, South Central Planning Board. Ratify Parish President Gordon Dove's recommendation for the appointment of Mr. David Klingman to the South Central Planning Board. Motion to open, close, and appoint Mr. Klingman by Mr. Trosclair, seconded by Mr. Amity. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Mr. Klingman is appointed. 5, vacancies, upcoming vacancies to various boards, committees, and commissions. Recreation District 3A Board has 1 expired term. Recreation District 6 Board has 1 expired term. Recreation District number 7 Board has 1 expired term. And Recreation District 9 has 1 expired term. Council members requesting discussion of. We have a motion to discuss with possible action relative to policies and procedures that are being prepared for implementation in recreation districts throughout Terrebonne Parish by Mr. Michel. Do we have a second? Seconded by Mr. Amity. Any discussion? All in favor by, discussion? No. Okay, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Go ahead, was that was Mr. Michel's, right? Yes. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Michel.
Thank you. And I went to one of the advisory board meetings, and their concern that they're stating is that we have not approved anything officially at the council level. And I just wanted to know, is it possible, obviously not tonight, but is it possible that we can maybe at the next meeting approve the accounting aspect and whatever else that might be ready? We don't have to approve the whole package, but is that something that's possible, Ms. Candace?
Ms. Malden?
Mr. Michel, we can approve it. My only concern would be it is coming on June 1st. They already have half of a year already recorded in their current accounting system. It may cause some problems as we go down the line for budget purposes this year, as well as the end of the year accounting records and audit. I would really suggest it being implemented come January 1st.
Can we, but if we can approve it at the next meeting or 2 meetings from now, we can do it as of January 1st. That way they have notice, they have time, and they have no excuses.
Correct. I would also tell you, I would be very comfortable saying that I could have everything to you by the last meeting in November, and we could adopt it all at that time, and it'll be done with them implementing it January 1st.
And do you think that'll be sufficient, just giving them a month's time?
Well, they're being kept up to date with it and the draft, so it's not going to be anything that they haven't seen already. If there's anything that's going to be a significant change or a significant time issue for them, we would address it at that time and let you know that that part wouldn't be
implemented until maybe 90 days later or something like that.
Correct.
Okay, that's great. That's all I wanted to know. I appreciate everything that you're doing. I appreciate everything that Roddy's doing on this, and of course I appreciate everything that the rec districts are doing. So.
I think we all just need some deadlines. So if we can get the
Yes.
deadlines in place, we'll make sure it gets moved forward.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Amity?
Yes, and I thought we had approved some stuff early on, but anyway, my question is really to my fellow members in this discussion in the past concerning the facilities and rental of facilities. I thought in the discussion we talked about trying to put everything on equal terms, but in the meeting the other night, they were talking about where some are going to charge for facilities and some are not going to charge for facilities. So did we not discuss charges for facilities, or we're still going to allow them to do whatever they want? Now, I forget who I was talking to, and they made a good point. They said when somebody finds out that this place is not charging for facilities, they're going to be bombarded and never get to use their facility because people from the north are going to go run to people in the south because they can use theirs for free, whereas the people in the north have a reasonable fee for those charges. But does anybody remember conversation on that? Because if we agreed that we're going to have them all charge for use of facilities, I want to make sure that gets in the policy manual.
Mr. Michaud, do you want to address that?
Yeah, I don't recall ever saying, I don't know that it's possible to make it uniform. And I think that the supply and demand is gonna get to them, because what they're not gonna be able to do is leave it off. Everybody has to put all of their assets on the program, so it's available to the public to book. And so if they have no rental fee, then that's going to become a problem for the people who are in their area, because people in other areas are going to reserve it at no charge. And I don't think it's the right thing to do. Of course, if a rec district does choose to do it at no charge, then they'll take those consequences. But I think that the rec districts have a right to set their own prices, whatever they are. And if anybody disagrees,
I thought they could set their own prices. I just thought that every facility was going to have some charge for the use of that facility, because the whole purpose was you've got some groups that are saying we're not going to do this and we're not going to do that, and it's like that's the whole reason of putting this policy and procedure manual together. Because yes, you are going to do what this council says you're going to do. And I want to make sure that if we discuss that it gets included. And I think Ms. Malden has a comment.
Oh, go ahead, Ms. Malden.
I believe the conversation was all rec districts have to put all of their facilities within the program. Everything, the rental and all, has to go there. But in order to keep their separation and their control over it, they were the ones that were able to set the rental rate, and we didn't say it was a required rental rate.
Thanks for the clarification.
Mr. Harding.
Yeah, and then again, to add on that, even though I have something else to say, is the fact that there are some instances that there may be some nonprofits that's involved, and they through their business, they can allow nonprofits to go through there, and somebody just passing by just thinks, oh, well, it's a lot of people over there, how much they charge, but they didn't charge anything, but then they don't realize it's a nonprofit. The reporting of the assets, I had a conversation prior to me going to the last meeting, and Mr. Lateral also stated to these recreation districts that they need all their assets to be put in there. I made a statement in that last meeting also, is the fact that we are relying on them to actually bring all the information that they need to us. And just like Mr. Michel was concerned about, there are some things that we can approve right now that we may not have to, such as there's a question of day camps. We need to have that, the day camps and the transportation of the day camps. That was a concern of theirs. It's kind of difficult to have a day camp, and we haven't really worked out a full understanding. I'm assuming, I think you had some conversation with that, Ms. Malton. Yeah, and I think we can work something out with that.
There is a current policy in place for day camps that is outside of what we're working on. So that will be included because there's one that's already been in place.
Yeah, and I think where we are here is the fact that if these day camps, they have certain funding that's provided through their budget for their day camps. So they have that. That's guidelines that Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government said, these guidelines you guys have to follow. But if any other revenue from their individual district, so that's perhaps where it is right there, where they can come in agreement perhaps with the school board and have field trips and stuff like that. So when I was in the meeting, I don't think that was fully understood at the time, and hopefully those people that are out there can actually have that understanding, you know what I mean? And if you have any other questions, call Ms. Candace and get clarification. Get clarification on that. They're not saying that you cannot actually have any field trips. It's just circumstances and guidelines that you have to go through to get these field trips. Thank you.
Mr. Amity?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Mr. Harding brought out a point that I wanted to take a look at. If you and Roddy's having trouble getting information, please let this council know so that we can work on those reg districts to get that information. Mr. Wendell, I know, is putting all that information into that program, into that software, and if it's holding him up on getting it done, then we need to, we who represent those districts need to encourage them to get that done so it doesn't drag on. I mean, the storm just wiped out a lot of progress in what we were doing, and we don't want to hold it up anymore. We want to get this done so that first of the year we can implement everything. Thank you.
And Ms. Malden, if you can give us some guidance, I'm getting contacted by some rec districts that are asking if we're going to implement a new chart of accounts. How does that affect they're currently working on budgets right now.
Correct.
So do they budget using their current chart of accounts, or how does that work?
Yeah, so I think the understanding is we will have the full policy in place and everything will be implemented January 1. We'll have the full policy in place and approved by the council by November, December. They can use their current budget chart of accounts that they're using right now. They just need to be using the budget template that the Louisiana Legislative Auditor requires. They should already be using that, so it should not be a change. But they can go based on what their current accounting codes are now. And when we start everything in January, we will go through that process and get that changed. And one thing I have been hearing too that I want to clear up, and this might relieve some of the stress of the districts, we are not requiring them to have some type of accounting software. If there is still somebody that's doing it by hand, it's just going to be a different code that they're going to put next to the name of the account. That's all that it's going to be. So we're not requiring them to go out and purchase any type of new program. We're not saying you have to use A, B, C, or D. It's just the accounting code that's going to be assigned to it, and I'll be glad to sit with anybody as we get it done and work through that.
Thank you, Ms. Malden. Seeing nothing else, moving along, announcements. Parish President, Mike, is there anything? Council members? Ms. Domingue.
Yeah, this weekend in downtown Houma, we have another exciting festival. It's going to be the White Boot Stroll. It's starting Friday afternoon and going to go into Saturday. And I would like to thank HPD. They have recently purchased the Skylift, which is really cool. I got to ride it the other day. And they're going to actually bring the Skylift to downtown to be able to kind of monitor, especially the state of the world we're in right now. I think the most safety we need, the better. And so thank you, HPD, for providing that Skylift to us. So thank you.
Mr. Babin.
Yes, besides my 52nd wedding anniversary Monday, is Memorial Day Monday. Okay,
Congratulations.
And I want all of us to remember the people who gave their lives to make us to get up here. Also, along with that, Saturday at the Military Museum on Barrett Street at 11 o'clock, they will have a function, a ceremony to honor Memorial Day. And Sheriff Tim Saunier is the keynote speaker. So it's 11 o'clock at the museum.
Mr. Michel.
Thank you. I would like to thank the Houma Police Department and also Mr. Steve Ponville for having a strong presence at the graduation for Vanderbilt Catholic High School at the Civic Center this past Saturday. It is much appreciated, but they had a specifically strong presence for Vanderbilt, and so I want to thank them for that. And also keep in mind, please, everyone, that schools are closing, and it's going to be staggering. It's going to be at different times. So, and some of them are closing later. So be aware of the school zones. They might not be ending when we think they're ending, and especially beware of the pedestrians in the subdivisions who are playing out near the streets or in the streets. And everyone have a good and safe summer. Thank you.
And I would like to announce that the Terrebonne Parish Council has an opening. If you would like to come work for us at the council, we have an opening for a minute clerk, is to provide clericals. What is that? Council office. Well, but the duties are to provide clerical support for the council members and the council clerk, including the attendance in certain council committee and other meetings assigned by the council, and prepare the agendas prior to and the minutes following said meetings. If you are interested in this, please contact the Terrebonne Parish Human Resources Department and figure out how you can apply for that job. Seeing nothing else, do we have a motion to adjourn? Motion to adjourn, Mr. Babin, seconded, Mr. Michel. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned.